presentation, I'll talk.
We're going live.
I'm here just to offer my help, honestly. And what about the live stream? It just starts live streaming? Or how's that?
It's on. You're live.
Well, it's 6:12, I'll call the meeting to order. Rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. It'll do.
Yes, roll call, Jackie Smith.
Am I your man?
John Heckman.
John Muller. And 2 members of the public.
I was gonna say their name, sorry. You need to? An hour later?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so Bobby Joe gave us the minutes. You have a chance to review them. You see one little note, just your header at the top. You wanna change that to 6 instead of 2? Is it the month, it's supposed to be the month?
No, it's the meeting.
The
second-
number of meeting,
it's the
okay, I
second meeting of
apologize.
the year.
You're correct, that's wonderful. Alright, any questions with the minutes?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Alright, next, fee schedule, have we found anything yet with any of the old applications or current applications?
The only application we have, we're not handling because it's
Right,
got residential included on it and we only do commercial
right.
and
Alright, so I have to maybe research other IDAs and see what theirs look like and work on creating something. And so that means that there's no computer, like a digital version anywhere that
I
you can
can't
find
even
yet.
find a blank. The only thing I can find is the one that was submitted previously. I don't even have a blank master that I can find anywhere. And I think it might have been on the old website, but it's not on the new website. And the old website now, if you try and open it, it gives you all these warnings about virus, so I won't open it. So, I don't even know if you can collect after that. It's not, and then the IDA folders, what's on the computers down there.
What about like the sent folder of like the email, like is it possible an application could have been emailed? I don't know how far back your email goes, does it go back to just the website or?
No, it goes back further than that. The old website, Robbie needs to update, and then it got turned over to the new website, and only Kelly got access to that. I think Laura did get, access to it, but I don't think she ever really did anything with it.
Okay. Alright, let's see, update, so that's kind of all goes hand in
Yeah,
hand.
we've gotta figure out what we're doing,
Okay.
and with that, we didn't really have the training, so we're sort of waiting for somebody to come in to help us through,
Right.
so it's sort of part of that, it all goes together.
So advertising, I think we know that that's something that we need to do. hopefully we can get some ideas tonight from Bill.
Even if there's something we could do even on the website or something, have a little portion of it.
Right, like even
At
a
least
description.
let people understand what it is, if we're here to help them, if we can. If you have questions, contact
Right.
us.
We'll have to make something up for, them to put on the website, cause right now when you open up the IDA on our website, it just says who the members are, that's it, there's nothing
See,
else
you
really
gotta get
there.
that organized, just so, you know, if people are, you know, if somebody looking to open up a business or something, they wanna look for something, at least they have an idea. You know, it doesn't have to say much, just, you know, contact one of the members and talk to them. You know, maybe we can help and maybe we can't, it's one of those things.
Alright, do you wanna skip to the budget, then Maria, and then save Bill for last? Okay, is that all right? Alright. Anything to report? Alright, so the income, the $900.
That was just based on the $70-some a month for 12 months, if we didn't have that other money that we weren't supposed to have in there, that's about what the income is gonna be this year, based on, you know, the rest of the year, cause this is a budget that should have been done last year for this year, and never got done.
So is this just interest, is that what you're saying?
It's just interest, so if you look at page 2, it flows through from the second page, it just.
Okay, interesting.
So all it is just the interest that you're earning in the bank account, that's it, and there's nothing getting paid out of there, there's no expenses, it's just that interest income, like that.
Alright, so, you want us to make a motion to approve the budget?
I guess that would be the right thing to do.
Make a motion to approve the budget.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Alright, budget's approved. Nothing, you have
I do not really have anything to report. I'm happy that Bill's here
yes.
to, give us all a refresher. And some
Or give
guidance,
her ideas or something of how to,
so thank you for coming.
Sure.
Yes, alright, so now we'll turn it over to, is it Fioravanti?
It's Fior Avanti,
Fioravanti.
but nobody gets it right, so my wife is just perfecting it now, so. If you can just, no, it's Fior Avanti, but, thanks for coming, remain seated, do you mind?
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me. I was really happy, and so was my board chair, that you invited me and I'm able to come out here. Our current board chair, Jeff Christ, he's an apple farmer in Montgomery. He actually, although he's the chairman now of the Orange County IDA, kind of stole him. We poached him from the Montgomery IDA, the town of Montgomery IDA. So he comes from a local IDA. He was there when there was pressure from both the state senator and from the old administration to kind of do away with his IDA. I will tell you, I'm someone that's an advocate for local IDAs. I live in the city of Newburgh. Our IDA was stagnant for a long, long time, but they've actually done some really meaningful work in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And I hope that they can be an inspiration to you. That's someone that I would love to connect you with, if I could, because I think, even if you could do some sort of field trip and go check out some of the projects that they've incentivized and talk to some of their members, about how they do what they do and why they do it, et cetera,
And
et cetera.
that's the
I think
city of
helpful.
Newburgh?
That's the city of Newburgh,
Okay.
yeah. So, and I mean it, I've told their board that I think they've done at times more meaningful projects than the county IDA has done, in the last few years at least. Whether it's between housing or commercial projects in districts or neighborhoods that really need it, I mean, that's meaningful stuff. And you folks live here in the city, so you understand that, and again, I understand the similar dynamics being in Newburgh. I've been there 10 years now with my family, trying to be part of a revitalization effort, and being a part of it, but it's happening, just like it's certainly happening here, but a lot of us want to either see things accelerated or done better, or whatever the case may be, so you've got an important role you can play in that, I really do believe that. First of all, is everyone pretty familiar with the IDA products or services and the basic incentives? I'll tell you the way I explain it, and usually people afterward they're advocates, they're able to explain it just as well. I call it a 3-legged stool of really IDA benefits. Any of these benefits, by the way, are for a project. So it has to be for a development project of some sort, and they have to define it. And that's what your application sets out to do, is make sure that they clearly define what this project entails. If it's a construction project, what is the size of the building? Exactly what you're gonna be doing with it. What are you doing with the site? Are you gonna be paving? Are you gonna be doing landscaping? Everything that they're looking to have incentives applied to has to be really described in that application, so that's really, really important. But those incentives for that project, whether it's spending some capital, it has to create a community benefit. Usually that's job creation, permanent jobs, construction jobs. Sometimes it's not. Some cases you will, I don't know if I use the word incentivize, but you use some of your tools to help, say, an energy project to happen, because it creates needed energy in an area that you're not gonna have development or commerce or industry if you don't have that, let's say. So that could be a community benefit with very little jobs, that sometimes is the case. So the three-legged stool applies to any project that comes to apply in this case. First leg is sales tax exemption, STE, the abbreviation. A lot of acronyms in this business, like many others. And that is sales, in Orange County, you have 8.125, 8% sales tax. We can exempt that for a project on their building materials, their furniture, their fixtures, their equipment, all that stuff. So that's for the project. Now, if they say the project is to build a, let's say it's an office building, and they build it and they get IDA incentives, they can't then do a little addition or put a shed out back and then try and get sales tax exemption if that wasn't part of the original scope. So it's, again, the project is key. So that's sales tax exemption, first leg of the stool. The second is MRTE, mortgage recording tax exemption. So in, if there is a commercial mortgage on the project, on the real estate and such, there's a 1.05% mortgage reporting tax on the principal of that mortgage. We can not eliminate that, but we can reduce it down to 0.3%, almost nil. It's a really major reduction of that. That's the second leg of the stool. Those are easy ones. Sales tax can be really, they all can be, important dollar amounts in the end, meaningful. But certainly sales tax can be a big one. Like a project I'll refer to maybe a couple times today is Royal Wine, where they make wine and grape juice, kosher grape juice. It's going up in the village of Goshen. It's about 600,000 square feet. It's a big one, it really is. They got sales tax exemption on their building materials and such, and I mean, that's millions of dollars. It really is. The last leg of the stool, of course, is the big one, pilot, right? So payment in lieu of taxes, meaning rather than just building it and having it be assessed, and maybe oftentimes the company would grieve that, say, we think these are too expensive, and you go through a whole process, it can be litigious, it can be costly. So in lieu of that, instead of that, there's a payment plan, there's this payment schedule. And basically I wanna be really clear about this. This is no one's taxes because of IDAs, at least in the work I've done and anything that you will do. No one's taxes go down, and no one pays zero taxes. So, and the taxes that someone will pay on a project will, whatever the property is generating now in terms of property tax, you're gonna pay that at the very least, and it's gonna go up from there. So it's not only an abatement, otherwise known as a phase-in of new incremental, meaning on top of what it already is, new taxes that are gonna result from the project. Those are the ones that we can phase in or gradually, bring in. So I present to school districts and school boards and BOCES and everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to do that, because I'm really helping to explain to them, and I hope you guys internalize this if you don't already feel this way. People say we're stealing money from their coffers, this, that. Absolutely not. What we're doing, in my opinion, we're guaranteeing all new revenue to go into their coffers, because without the project, there wouldn't be that. It would be just what they're getting right now. It's like an 80% of something versus 100% of nothing. But the school districts, I think, again, we secure those. Whereas if somebody just chose to build, they could leave. They're here for a commitment of at least, say, 10 or 15 years. And in Orange County, no one has had their pilot expire and then move out. It's a great place to be. We support our business as well. They want to be here for a reason. If they can be, they can afford to be here. So it's not like there's that threat that, oh, you're gonna give them a pilot and all of a sudden when it's over, they're gonna go look for the next best deal. It's not the way it works here. But that, to be clear on that pilot, again, just only the new taxes that will be generated because of the project, we phase those in over whatever your UTIP defines. So that's the three-legged stool: sales tax exemption, mortgage recording tax exemption, and a pilot or property tax abatement. And then on the other side, do you know if you have an LDC, a local development corp, kind of like a sister agency to the IDA? Yeah, I wasn't sure about that either. I kind of looked it up. I didn't see that.
We used to have the UDAC thing,
That's probably what it was.
used to. There's still binders and files
Sure.
and stuff down there, but it's
So
not
most
active.
IDAs do have an LDC, which has a little bit more flexibility, not much still, very, very, narrow set of of abilities that IDAs have and the benefits and all that. But the local development corp, ours is called the Orange County Funding Corp, OCFC. So for us, OCFC is how we issue tax exempt bonds, which I will tell you, I haven't done a new bond deal yet, and I mentioned this before the meeting, I learned a lot by doing. So I've refinanced a bond project, it's basically essentially what we did, but I haven't done a new one. But essentially, it's providing lower cost financing for a project, for certain types of manufacturing projects, and for other projects that are public facing, that 95% of the use of the building has to be for the public. That's why it tends to be higher education and hospitals. Like we, for example, did a tax exempt bond for St. Luke's Hospital in Newburgh for their new emergency room. And it tends to be like, typically, it varies, but a couple of points lower on your interest rate, essentially, doing something like that. IDAs can't do that, but their LDCs can do that. And then there are a few other things that you can do during COVID. IDAs are not allowed to give loans, to be clear about that. Even grants or loans they can't do. Your LDC can do a grant. But during COVID, IDAs were given special permission to set up a loan fund, which we did, the town of Montgomery did as well. We, for example, provided $10,000 loans to 50 businesses. It was a $500,000 fund, but $10,000 loans for 50 Orange County businesses. That was just during COVID, and they stopped that afterward. But there are some extra things you can do. The other thing is using your fund balance. I don't know if you have one, but if you start doing projects, you do have those funds. One, it's intended to help keep the doors open, so that for you to function and pay for counsel and things like that. But if you were able to build up a little bit, like say $200,000, you could use that for a study. Say a study do like a Main Street, let's say a Front Street corridor study to see what were the possibilities, what you could do here. Those are things you can do with your fund balance. And you can acquire property, actually. That's what we're looking to do with ours. Our IDA, because of being so active, again, getting no funding anywhere else, just from the companies that we charge fees to, we've got about $10 million in the bank, and we can use that what we want to use it, no longer for an accelerator, because unfortunately those bad actors ruined that for everybody. Not that it was successful either. I'm a small business person at heart, grew up with that and everything, but and they don't get very much help, small businesses, and I will say IDAs, people are often criticized saying, well, it's all these big companies or these big projects that get the incentives, and that's very much true. Small business, though a small business can benefit from it, we have one right now, I consider it certainly a small business, the Castle Fun Center, it's an amusement park in Chester, they're expanding, they got IDA benefits, we actually just recorded them saying, so I have it, proof that we could have done it without the IDA, but we do want to help those projects, but a lot of startups and everything, they get nothing. So we had a great project, a great program, wasn't very successful, and then again, the bad actors used it, for malfeasance, so we couldn't do it. We're trying to use our fund balance now to put into properties, to ready certain sites to be able to host the best projects possible, looking past warehouses. Frankly, one of the sites that we're identifying is the concrete site here in Port Charlotte. There's great potential there, and rather than being a warehouse with trucks coming through the city, I know, of course, where it's situated, it could be a research campus or a pharmaceutical manufacturing operation where you have very little truck traffic, but some high-paying jobs in R&D, and try and be like what Colmar was, but the next level, really. So those are some great possibilities. Those are the types of things you can do with your funds. But the three-legged stool, remember that one. That's the core of it. That's the core of your work. That's what you're here to do, is provide those incentives in order to help projects happen, and happen now, and happen here in Port, not somewhere else. That's why. It's why you do it. If you don't think you need to do them, provide incentives, or they're not necessary, and you're having all the development you possibly can imagine, then don't do it. But if you want to see more happen and good projects, like I see some half-finished projects in some other areas, the biggest challenge from an economic developer standpoint in Port is you don't have that much developable property, really. You know, a lot of people don't realize that. I think you have opportunities for redevelopment. I think housing is critically important here, like it is in my city, and, you know, and everywhere, every town, every village.
That was why they did the annexation, to pull some property in.
Absolutely.
So it could be developed.
Definitely, so I think we're gonna make that happen, now's the time. We've got a great economic development team, working really well with the mayor, we work well with Mayor Decker, but working really well with Mayor Sickles as well. I think a lot of him, I think he's gonna be really good, I think he's gonna, be helpful from an economic development perspective. That's why I'm here in part two, the mayor. So okay, that's my three-legged stool training, that's my only training today, is through the three-legged stool. And everyone gets it, no offense, but I give it to audiences that are not IBA, reps. I wanted to ask you about legal counsel, and I just asked one member when I came in, and it sounds like that's even a question for you, but I can't stress enough how valuable that is. I think it's a necessity, there's no way around it. Your volunteers, it's been a relatively quiet, IBA in terms of activity. I expect that to change, but you're still not gonna have 12 projects a year, I can tell you that. So the amount of knowledge and skill you're gonna be able to build up yourselves, no offense, I know you can be excellent board members, but you're not gonna know IBA law, general municipal law, Public Authorities Accountability Act, you're not gonna know that stuff inside and out. You need an attorney to guide you, to train you. We recently had a training session with our attorney, which by the way is not a public session. That is attorney-client privilege, so you can have trainings, you can ask very direct questions, you can, and I know, I'm all about transparency, I love the fact that, we're live streaming this, but there are things that are sensitive and difficult to talk about and to ask questions about and such, so you have the opportunity to do that. You also, I wanted to talk about your UTEP, so I don't know if you've reviewed that, that's something that if you haven't read it, someone needs to find it, and you need to review it. That's your Uniform Tax Exemption Policy, UTEP. Every IDA is required to have one. You are expected to review it and revise it often or periodically, but I think the intention is often. Look how much the world is changing every single year. It's unbelievable. Now is a time when you need to take another look at what your policies are. That UTEP spells out, all right, we're gonna give the most aggressive incentives to manufacturing. We really wanna grow that here. Or we think there's a budding tourism sector here, which there certainly is in Port. So we wanna see a hotel come here rather than the way I always describe it. And then that, I've said it in this room, that then the economics leaks over to Pennsylvania. Because when someone stays there, you know that's where they eat, and that's where they shop as well, right? So if, let's say you wanna do those things, you know, you can revise your UTEP in order to incentivize what your priorities are, and I encourage you to do that. But you need your attorney to do that. You know, you need an attorney to do that, so that's another important one. So legal counsel is great, and I just also wanted to touch on inactivity. I know it's been slow, and I kinda already covered this, but again, you know, that can change in a heartbeat. I do encourage you, because unless you have all the development you like, you know, again, you don't need to do anything, but I think there are great opportunities here in this city, and I think IDA incentives would help them happen and help them be successful. But you don't just want a building built and a great idea of a Foundry 42 happening, and then it folds, God forbid, I know that will never fold, as long as they want it to be here. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's really important. So I really think you should also find a way, I assume with the city's help, because you don't have too many resources on your own, but I think this IDA should be promoted. I think you should help educate people as to what the incentives are, to teach them a three-legged stool now that you have it. And, you know, tell them, I think there's no reason to not encourage people to apply. You'll decide through your UTEP revision process and by reviewing actual applications to come before you, what you wanna do and what you don't wanna do. Now you have to consider them all the same way. You can't be arbitrary and capricious, you know, that's a big term in our world where you have to consider everyone in the same manner, equally. You have to, your fees have to be the same across everything. That's why your fee schedule has to be out there. So that's an important part, but the inactivity can change, and I really do encourage you to promote this IDA, because I think you could do great work, and then it'll be a lot more enjoyable for you as well, rather than meeting without projects happening, you know, and I give you all credit for doing that, by the way, that you're doing this in a time it's tough to be a volunteer like this, it's tough to step up and take on this. I'm sure you may not have to read James Skoufis's Twitter account to know, you know, how thankless the work can be sometimes, because you know, it doesn't take much to realize this isn't the kind of work, again, you're gonna get a pat on the back, you're gonna get more criticism of, why'd you do this, why'd you do that, from people that frankly maybe aren't paying full attention and know why you're doing it. So I give you a lot of credit for doing this, and I hope that you can find a way where you have some activity so that you guys can do some meaningful work. You know, it's not just showing up and trying to really do your duty like you clearly are. So I just want to address that. And then, last, I just want to talk about what I think are the areas of focus for an IDA, really basically. And that's the good news. I will tell you that you're probably daunted by this and, you know, the fear of what you don't know and everything. It is a finite world. There's only so many rules, and there's, again, enough that I think unless you're doing this or you're a professional in this, it's hard for you to get it down, so you need to rely on legal counsel when it comes to that. But there are really, I think IDAs generally operate in a similar fashion, and there are similar things they have to do. First to me is working with stakeholders. That's the human side of it. I'm a relationship person. It's always been my career. I mean, that is the constant in my career. Told you some of my background with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Clubs and the phone company and things, but I've always been in relationships. You need to do that. You need to work with, of course, your own board. If there's a staff person, your legal counsel. You need to work with the city board and the mayor. You need to work with applicants and developers and builders and all that who may be interested. So that's an important part in my opinion. Working with stakeholders. The second is actually the process, the workflow, if you will. Another area where I really strongly feel you need legal counsel because these are legal proceedings. You need someone to help you conduct a legal public hearing. You need someone to help do the actual legal closing on an IDA project, where that's when you'll get your fees out of it and when the incentives will actually be kind of actualized. You need someone to help you with that. So that's the workflow piece, public hearings. And it's not just new applications. You know, whoever it is that's managing, someone is gonna call on a past project saying, you know, we're actually selling this property and we wanna convey or transfer, what do we call it, assign IDA benefits to the buyer, as long as they're gonna still have as many jobs and this, that, and the other. That's gonna happen. You're gonna have some old projects as well that you'll have to do. So, but processing that workflow, the processing piece, that's pretty administrative. That's another core component. And again, especially in your situation, not super active, a small, smaller city, you need an attorney to help with that because you're just not gonna have that expertise. Next to that is very similar administrative type of work, but it's on the reporting side. There's Harris report, somebody's doing that for you. Somebody did it for you by March 31st somehow.
Still not in the website.
Okay, but you did complete it?
It's not done now.
Oh, it's not, okay,
Can't
alright.
get in the website.
Oh, really?
Still
Okay.
can't get in the website. I've been
Oh,
trying
man.
for 2 months.
And you've been in touch with somebody at the state level? Oh my gosh. It's not the most fun part of this work, I will tell you that.
No, our
The Harris
treasurer's
report.
been going since the end of February and nothing's,
You see.
it's a mess.
That's an area where, I meant to, brought a whole bunch of business cards, it's, do my casino deal here. Sorry.
21.
There we go. I'm gonna give you one as well, sir. My cell's on there, call me, text me, I'm a big texter, I will say I'm on the phone constantly, so texting at least, that way we don't play phone tag. That's something I'm here to help with. I don't wanna do your parents' report. I'm gonna tell you that. I don't wanna do my parents' report. But I will help guide you with that if I can help in any way, if I can, just having another friend in the business, frankly, you know, so. So that's the reporting side, and then like kind of the last piece is the other. It's the COVID loan fund that I talked about. It's using your fund balance. It is the bond side, but that's all part of it. But yeah, working with stakeholders, workflow, like processing the administration of IDA projects and such. The reporting side is key, and then those are the 3 key ones. And then the other is the other things that kind of pop up. Again, you could do a corridor study, things like that. That's just extra things that you can do. But your core is that 3-legged stool, and then these are the areas of focus, generally speaking. And I will send this to you, okay, afterward. Jackie, I'm not sure if do I have your, yeah, we've been emailing, right? That's how you started reaching out to me.
Yes.
And you texted, you really got me.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, terrific, all right. So those, I'm gonna share those with you, okay? It's pretty basic, but it's kind of, I like telling you this because it's also, again, there's not much more. It's not like I'm telling you this and then there's all these 7 other categories. This is really what it pertains to. It's very, again, finite work. But I just wanna make the offer that if I could give you any assistance on the things that I feel from the outside are important, assistance finding legal counsel. I mean, you have your own mechanisms and government obviously to help with that, but I did an RFP trying to find both general counsel and bond counsel to help us with the bond side of it. And we did RFPs for both, and we did hire them. But I interviewed a lot of firms, I talked to a lot of folks. I do go to a lot of conferences for New York State Economic Development Council, which I think is an absolute, huge advantage. If you have any sort of budget, and you could send even just one of your members to one of those conferences. There's one every year in Albany, usually around January, I think, and then there's their annual meeting in Cooperstown every year in May. They're nice events, they're very well done, and I get so much out of them, just because I'm new to this business, so, I go and meet colleagues, I meet people. That's the number one thing with a conference. You meet people that you could then call next month and say, I have this, how did you handle this? It's a great thing. Plus the sessions are terrific. I think people that have been in this work a long time, they skip a lot of sessions, but I don't skip one session, and I wouldn't recommend any of you, because you can learn an awful lot from that. And again, meet some colleagues, but you have friends here in Orange County, I can tell you that. You have myself, you have our staff and our board. One of our board members is from Port, Mark Green. He's very much interested in whatever we can do to help the city, even if it's not directly as your IDA. So I certainly offer that. Any assistance with specific projects, if and when you get an application, and just again, having not gone through it a lot, wanna give me a call and help, just talk through that workflow piece and what you do first, this, that, and the other. Again, your legal counsel is gonna be the number one guide for that, but I'm here if you have any questions when you have a project, okay? Let's see, look at our website, please. I think I mentioned before we started here that we're revamping our website. We're trying to make it more and more transparent, to the public. So that will be out in, late September, early October at the latest on your website. And again, it's gonna be designed to make it just more user-friendly so you can find everything on there. By the way, it's an idea for your own website if you don't already have one. We're not just trying to put the essentials and what's required by law to have on there, our projects and our policies and all of that. We also are now trying to educate the public through our website. We're trying to have little snippets of impact that our projects have had. And
I was like, give pictures of projects.
exactly,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And again, I mentioned I recorded the Castle Fun Center. It's for a little snippet on social media and on our website, because we wanna show we're also not just for the mega companies. We're for, the mom and pop shops, not the smallest of shops, and not retail, to be clear. Like the Foundry 42, we couldn't, incentivize something like that. That is straight retail. But there are a lot of other opportunities. So our website has, even the old one, active projects is one of the pages I'd encourage you to look at. It's kind of like almost like a file room with all of the projects we've incentivized in there, and you click on one and it will expand, and you can see all the documents. So you can see the applicants, their application, you can see the public hearing transcript, you can see all the resolutions. So just if you're interested in, say, Legoland, just as a kind of, that's something I feel like everyone, it's different, and it's, it's kind of, some notoriety to it. It may make it a little more fun, actually. Let me look it up, and let me look what benefits they got, and what level, and how much, and let me look at the cost-benefit analysis that was done by, in this case, that we hired KPMG, a huge CPA firm, to conduct that. And that was something else I meant to mention in workflow, is the cost-benefit analysis, as it is in my notes. That's something else that has to be done. We use a tool that a lot of IDAs around the state use, a computer, kind of a glorified Excel spreadsheet. So someone should be doing that as well, and that's all part of the workflow piece. But something that I can help with, we have that tool, we can help you do things like that, especially until you kind of really get your own full competency in that. But on our website, active projects, fee schedule, I heard that mentioned. On our application page, you can see both our application, exactly the way that's laid out. We revised that with our new general counsel last year, the year before, so you can just see how we do our application. And then the fee schedule's in that as well. We actually changed our fees recently. We added a couple of fees, like if you don't get us your information, necessary information for the Paris report, we're gonna hit you with a fee. We added some things like that to try and as a deterrent from some of that. But we also modified some things so that if a project comes to us that's not looking for a pilot, because that's of course where, when I say that, I explained earlier that it's not money that's just being given up, right? It's all only, you're phasing in those new property taxes. I mean, it's still you are giving something up though, right? It's full tax you could, so I don't mean to come in here and act like, hey, we're not even giving it, we certainly are, but there has to be a return for that, right, you know, obviously, but the pilot is where we're giving up the most, right, versus sales tax and mortgage reporting tax, so we change our fee schedule so that if you come to us only for, say, sales tax, or sales tax and mortgage reporting tax, it's a lower fee than if you came for a pilot. So I encourage you to check that page out as well, and then the documents page, if you wanna look at any of our policies, including our local labor policy. Don't know if you have one of those, but that's something I suggest that you do have, so that if someone does get an incentives from you, maybe wait till you really get restarted again. But if someone comes to you and they get incentives, that you ensure that the construction of that building, let's say, is gonna be done by local men and women. And ours is an 85% threshold that you have to have, at least the companies can be from wherever, but the workers on the job have to be 85% of them from, not just Orange County, we couldn't possibly provide enough workers for that, but it's now an 8-county region, all the ones you think about in the Mid-Hudson, plus Delaware County, because actually a lot of tradespeople come from there. So local labor policy, that's another one, that's one of the policies. UTEP, I would check out our UTEP and yours, get a hold of yours, and then look at ours. We are in the middle of our revision process, I've been going through the process with that, to revise that and update it. We're trying to put a much greater emphasis on advanced manufacturing and things like microchip manufacturing rather than just warehouses and stuff. We're trying to look beyond that, so that's what you'll see in our UTEP. But our current one was still revised in 2019, so it's worth a look. And then conferences, I mentioned that. Sometimes there are other ones maybe a little bit more local, including like an IDA Academy. I'm gonna make it one of my missions to, if there is one in the region at all, to make sure I send it over to Jackie or whoever, was gonna be my contact. And I was also thinking that maybe we actually developed our own training. We hired, it's actually a former law firm of ours, and they're not even our current counsel, but one of their attorneys helps us with our Paris report actually. So I love her. But we hired her to come and do like a training, one-on-one training, IDA 101, yesterday, or today and tomorrow. So something like that, we could do it in the future, and we could do a joint training, or we could, my staff would kill me if they heard this, but they could probably conduct somewhat of a training. They probably wouldn't feel confident enough, but they definitely could, because they do know a lot, but there's more, but we could do that as well. And I also just, again, you have my cards, the office number's on there, and my cell's on there. Call me, text me, email us, call the office, call me with any question whatsoever. We're here to help for sure. I do wanna see you kind of get back to running at full bore and see some great projects, and I would love to see you promote this IDA so that you really can have some exciting projects, because some really cool stuff happening in the city, and the IDA may be able to help more happen, not just more happen, more in the pipeline, more actually be successful, so that is my IDA 101. Any questions you have, I'm here, but again, I'm not going anywhere. We are partners of yours for the duration, as long as you guys are in this work, we're here to help you through that, okay?
When are your meetings?
Our meetings are typically, sometimes they change, of course, as you understand, but they're typically the third Wednesday of every month. And they are, on those Wednesdays, we have our finance committee meeting at 4 o'clock. And then we have our 2 board meetings at 5. And I say 2 because again, we have one for our LDC, Orange County Funding Corp, that goes first because it's usually faster. Then we have our IRE board meeting. And then we'll have committee meetings in between, a governance committee meeting. We used to have an accelerator committee, we folded that. Audit committee, which in the audit committee also handles, they hear waivers requests to our local labor policy. There are opportunities to be exempted from certain part. For example, if you need specialty labor to install something that's gonna have a warranty, and the warranty requires that specialty labor to install it. Those are examples. Our audit committee hears those. So we have a calendar that is on the homepage of the website as well, if you wanna check that out.
Are your meetings televised?
They are.
On what channel?
They're on YouTube.
YouTube.
So that's the other thing. If you wanna watch any of our meetings, I can't think of like a juicy one to watch, but they're all pretty boring. But maybe not to you folks. So yeah, you can watch any of those. And again, the new site, we're gonna make that easier to view those.
Do you know when the Newburgh meetings are, by chance?
I don't. I used to know, but we can check that out on their website. I'd love to make that connection for you, because, even their chairman, young man Marlon Ramos, he's become very passionate about the work, even as a volunteer. He really thinks it's important. And again, I try and encourage him and his colleagues there. I'm sure he'd love to come and give a hand in, or host a tour if you folks want to come there and see some of the work they've done. Great. Any other questions at all?
Really appreciate you
Got a lot of
coming.
For sure.
This way.
For sure, definitely. Yeah, I don't wanna overwhelm you, but again, not going anywhere, here to help you. Even if it's to repeat this stuff, you let me know. I am close. Port is not that far away, so I don't get here enough as I should. It's one of my guilty things. I do have some good old fashioned Roman Catholic guilt over it, but, I'm trying to get here more. So if I can, please let me know. I'm happy to come anytime, okay? And if you don't mind, since I have my own IDA meetings, I will leave. I won't hang out to the end of this one, if you don't mind. All right?
We don't
But I'm
mind.
here for you, okay? Thanks for having me here, for
Thank
sure.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Oh, you need
Oh, your,
little cord.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's okay. I actually have a couple of those.
you sure?
You need your meeting, keep going. No, it's fine. I promise you it's fine. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks, folks. See you later.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
A lot of information.
Yes. Very good.
Andy has it all written down for us.
I have chicken scratch.
Me too. Problem is when you go back to reading, you're like, what is that?
What is that?
Very good. Feel inspired.
See, we should have done that first, and we could have added an educational line to the budget, so that maybe somebody could go
I'll have to look into it.
see how much it costs.
Is there anything else that we need to cover tonight?
I do have, so with the stuff, the last meeting, we approved the financial statements. So I replied to them that we approved them and they could finalize them. And then, of course, they replied to me, you need to take this and put
Was this the auditors?
Yeah, you need to take this and put it on the letterhead and sign it, so. Where did that go? Just wanted you to see it before I signed it.
Andy will sign it.
Hmm?
We'll get Andy to sign it.
Yeah.
No, they wanted me to sign it, I'm like, why do they want me to sign it? Because I'm the still in treasurer. Probably downstairs on the printer. There it is. So I only brought one of them, but at a glance, it's like all the questions that come up like on the Paris, part of what, the questions and answers from the Paris form. And it just says that what their responsibilities were in the audit, talks about the financial statement, the information we provided them with, it's like to protect them and to protect us, I guess. But you can see it's 48 items that they want us to sign. Like, I didn't even have letterhead, I had to create the letterhead to put it on, because I couldn't even find IDA letterhead anywhere. But Robin did one, so I found that all she did was take the city letterhead and change it to IDA, because Robin signed off on one of these years ago. I'm sure that one had to get signed off on by Laura somewhere along the way, but I couldn't find it, where it is. So, I hate to say the word assume, but I'm assuming that because we approved the financial statements, I should be able to just sign the letter. I just don't know. You know what I mean?
Your name is on?
Yeah.
I know you put it there.
No, I didn't put it there, they put it there,
Oh,
all I
okay.
did was copy and paste this on the top, change the date that they had from last month, the end of last month, and put tonight's date on it, since we were having a meeting tonight, but
I think you should just sign it.
I think I can just sign it because we approved the financial statements, we
We
hired
approved
the
it.
firm,
We didn't really have
everything's,
any
right.
changes or anything big happen, so.
The whole financial statement consists basically of the interest we earned for the year. We didn't
That's
pay
it.
an attorney, we didn't pay anybody any money, we had no disbursements whatsoever.
Exactly.
The biggest thing they keep going back to is the attorney. We didn't pay an attorney, but they wanna know who the attorney is, and we don't have one, and they
See,
didn't like the fact that we didn't have a budget
That
either.
always goes back to is because we really don't have anything
going on, why are we
Going
gonna
on,
pay an
you
attorney
know.
or retainer when we don't have
You
a
know,
project?
to pay, I don't know if there was money to pay, but
There
it's.
was money that the council voted,
But we just don't,
For-
you know, we have nothing going on, so there's no reason.
there should be money, an IDA line for an attorney.
In the city's budget?
Yes.
The council voted on that a couple of years ago. Approved
So,
when, what's his name?
Carigliano.
Yeah.
But the last time
That's
we
when it was
hired
done.
him though, it was just to help with the
But there was money
sideline
set
trying to
aside
get
for
an extension.
attorney expenses solely for the IDA. I remember it.
I'll have to look at that, I don't have the city's budget with me. I didn't pull it up on my phone, I don't know if it was 500.
So are you saying that it was just money like carried forward in each budget, is it approved, or?
It was something new that all money aside for attorney, for just the IDA.
Or city budget.
I don't know that it would have been.
Cause it would have to be carried forward in each budget, correct?